In the teachings of Lord Buddha, true happiness is not found in the relentless pursuit of material possessions or in the endless chase for fleeting pleasures, but rather in the mindful understanding of life's impermanence and the acceptance of each passing moment. We often find ourselves caught in a cycle of buying and accumulating things, a new phone, a fashionable piece of clothing, or even a shiny new car, that we believe will fill an inner void and bring us lasting joy. Yet, as the Buddha taught, every desire rooted in attachment leads only to suffering, because the joy we feel when acquiring something new is as transient as the light of dawn, soon replaced by the yearning for the next novelty. Consider, for example, a person who saves money for months to purchase the latest smartphone, convinced that this device will revolutionize their life and grant them happiness. When the purchase is finally made, the initial excitement quickly dissipates, and before long, the mind craves another upgrade, another feature, another distraction, trapping the individual in an endless cycle of desire and discontent. This unceasing chase not only leaves the mind restless and chattering, but also creates a space for negative emotions such as jealousy, anger, and regret. When we see others possessing what we covet, be it a newer model, a more luxurious item, or even an experience we believe we deserve, the resulting comparisons can lead to bitterness and self-blame. In our everyday lives, we may regret past decisions or feel anxious about losing what we have. And as one desire is fulfilled, another emerges with the promise of even greater happiness, only to postpone that feeling once more. The Buddha explained that this cycle of craving, clinging, and subsequent disappointment is at the very root of human suffering, and that true contentment lies not in external acquisitions but in cultivating an inner state of mindfulness and detachment. Instead of constantly chasing the next material thing, we are invited to step back and examine the nature of our desires with a clear and compassionate mind. Imagine a busy professional who spends long hours at work, striving for promotions and higher income, only to find that the satisfaction derived from each achievement is ephemeral. The fleeting pleasure of a bonus or a new purchase soon gives way to anxiety about the future or regret about the past. In another instance, a student might believe that owning the latest gadgets and trendy clothes will secure them social acceptance and a sense of belonging. Yet the joy of fitting in fades quickly, replaced by the stress of keeping up with ever-changing trends and the fear of being left behind. These practical examples highlight how the pursuit of external validation and material pleasure creates a restless inner life where true happiness remains ever elusive. The Buddha's teachings encourage us to look inward and recognize that happiness is not something that can be purchased or forced, but is a state of mind that arises from letting go of attachments and living fully in the present moment. When we focus on the present rather than being consumed by memories of a happier past or hopes for an ideal future, we begin to experience life as it truly is, a series of impermanent moments, each with its own beauty and lesson. This realization is both profound and practical. It shows us that the constant pursuit of things outside ourselves only leads to a fragmented life, where the mind is forever divided between longing and regret. In contrast, a mind that practices mindfulness and accepts the natural ebb and flow of life is free to experience genuine peace. For instance, someone who has learned to appreciate the simple pleasure of a quiet morning, the warmth of a cup of tea, or the sound of rain tapping on a window, discovers that these small moments can offer a deep and lasting sense of contentment that no amount of shopping or material accumulation ever could. When we let go of the need to cling to possessions or to compare ourselves with others, we begin to see that the sources of true happiness are already present within us, waiting to be nurtured by mindfulness, compassion, and self-awareness. In our modern world, we are bombarded by advertisements and social media messages that constantly tell us we need more gadgets, more clothes, more experiences to be happy. Yet, this external bombardment only reinforces the illusion that happiness is something external and measurable, rather than an inner state that flourishes when we are at peace with ourselves. The Buddha's philosophy teaches that every moment is unique, and that clinging to any experience or object is like trying to hold onto a wave. No matter how tightly we grasp, it will eventually slip away, leaving us thirsty for more. This understanding calls for a radical shift in perspective. Instead of seeking to fill our lives with an endless array of material things and experiences, we are invited to cultivate a deep sense of gratitude for the present moment and to find joy in the simplicity of life itself. When we practice mindfulness, we learn to observe our thoughts and emotions without judgment, allowing us to recognize the patterns of craving and attachment that have kept us trapped in cycles of dissatisfaction. This practice helps us understand that every time we chase after something new, with the expectation that it will make us happy, we are only reinforcing the idea that our happiness depends on external circumstances, a belief that inevitably leads to disappointment. By gently letting go of these attachments, we begin to see that the mind is capable of experiencing a profound sense of peace that is not contingent on what we own or achieve. The journey toward this kind of inner liberation is not always easy. It requires constant practice, self-reflection, and the courage to face uncomfortable truths about the nature of our desires. However, each small step we take toward releasing our grip on material pleasures brings us closer to a state of lasting contentment, a state where happiness is not a destination to be reached by acquiring more, but a natural byproduct of living with awareness and acceptance. Consider the example of someone who, after years of chasing after the latest trends and accumulating possessions, finally decides to simplify their life. By reducing their dependence on material things and dedicating time to meditation and self-reflection, they begin to experience moments of clarity and inner peace that had long been obscured by the constant noise of desire. This person might start noticing that the joy they once sought in shopping sprees and luxury items is now replaced by a deeper appreciation for the beauty of nature, the warmth of human connection, and the simple pleasures of everyday life. In this way, the transformation is not about rejecting the world or its offerings, but about changing the way we relate to them. Instead of being slaves to our cravings, we learn to see the world with fresh eyes that recognize the impermanence of all things and the value of each moment as it arises. This shift in perspective is at the heart of Buddhist practice, where the focus is on cultivating a mind that is calm, clear, and free from the incessant demands of external validation. In our day-to-day experiences, this means being fully present when we are with friends or family, savoring the taste of our food without distraction, or simply taking a few moments to breathe and observe our inner thoughts. Such practices may seem small, yet they have the power to transform our entire outlook on life. When the mind is no longer consumed by the desire for more, it opens up to the richness of the present, and we start to realize that the true essence of happiness lies not in the accumulation of things, but in the quality of our inner life. It is in the quiet moments of solitude, in the soft embrace of a loved one, and in the gentle flow of a peaceful day that we come to understand what it means to be truly content. The Buddha's teaching is a call to return to this inner sanctuary, a place where the constant chatter of the mind is replaced by a deep and abiding silence, and where the endless cycle of craving is finally laid to rest. This is not a call to renounce the world entirely, but to engage with it in a way that is informed by wisdom and compassion. When we understand that the pursuit of material pleasure only ever postpones true happiness, we can begin to live our lives with a sense of liberation and grace. We come to see that every new desire that arises is an opportunity for self-inquiry, a chance to ask ourselves whether that desire truly serves our deepest needs, or whether it is merely a distraction from the more important work of nurturing our inner peace. In practical terms, this might involve setting aside time each day for mindfulness meditation, where we observe our thoughts without becoming entangled in them, or practicing gratitude by reflecting on the simple blessings that enrich our lives. Such practices help us to build resilience in the face of life's inevitable challenges and to recognize that the fleeting pleasures of the material world can never fully satisfy the longing of a restless mind. Instead, true happiness emerges when we learn to appreciate the present moment for what it is, a unique and unrepeatable experience that holds within it the potential for deep transformation. This journey toward inner peace is both gradual and profound, requiring us to dismantle the old habits of thought that have long defined our relationship with the world. It is a journey that calls for patience, self-compassion, and the willingness to face the discomfort of change. Yet with each step we discover that the freedom we seek is not found in acquiring more, but in shedding the weight of our attachments and embracing life in all its impermanence. In reflecting on these teachings, we might recall a time when we were so preoccupied with chasing after the next material thing that we missed the beauty of the moment, right before our eyes. A breathtaking sunset, a spontaneous laugh shared with a friend, or the serene stillness of a quiet morning. These moments, often overlooked in the pursuit of external pleasures, are the very essence of what it means to be alive. They remind us that happiness is not something to be found in a store or measured by the size of our bank account, but in the simple act of being fully present and open to the wonders of life as they unfold. The Buddha's wisdom teaches us that our incessant need to accumulate and compare only serves to deepen our suffering, as it creates a never-ending cycle of desire, disappointment, and regret. When we see others with possessions or experiences that we long for, the resulting envy and self-criticism only distract us from the joy that is already available within. Instead of allowing these negative emotions to take hold, we are encouraged to cultivate a sense of equanimity and compassion, both for ourselves and for those around us. This approach not only transforms our inner world, but also improves the quality of our relationships, fostering a sense of genuine connection that is based on mutual understanding and shared humanity, rather than on the superficial markers of material success. In a world that often equates happiness with wealth and status, the Buddha's teachings stand as a gentle yet powerful reminder that true fulfillment is found in simplicity, mindfulness, and the deep recognition of our interconnectedness. By turning our focus inward and learning to appreciate the present moment, we begin to see that the endless chase for material pleasure is a distraction from the more important work of nurturing our inner life, a work that, although challenging, holds the promise of a more authentic and lasting happiness. Each time we allow ourselves to pause and reflect on the impermanent nature of our desires, we take a step away from the constant pull of consumer culture and toward a more mindful way of living. In doing so, we may come to understand that the happiness we seek is not hidden in the next purchase or the next achievement, but is already present within us, waiting to be acknowledged and nurtured through the practice of mindfulness and the cultivation of inner peace. Furthermore, the recognition that life is filled with constant change helps us to understand that the very nature of our cravings is to be transient. It is as if each new desire is like a flame that briefly lights up the darkness of our inner void, only to be extinguished by the harsh reality of its impermanence. When we come to see that every moment is in a state of flux, we learn that our attempts to cling to the fleeting moments of pleasure are ultimately futile. Instead, we are encouraged to cultivate a steady and enduring inner calm that is not dependent on the external conditions of life. This shift in perspective can be illustrated by the simple act of observing nature. Consider the changing colors of the sky at sunset, or the way the seasons shift gradually from one to another. These natural rhythms remind us that change is an inherent part of life, and that clinging to any one state is a source of suffering. In our modern lives, where we often attempt to freeze moments of happiness by holding on to possessions or by trying to recreate past experiences, we find that such attempts only deepen our sense of loss when those moments inevitably pass. By learning to accept the flow of life, we open ourselves up to a richer and more dynamic experience of happiness, one that is not bound by the constraints of material accumulation. This deeper understanding invites us to practice letting go, to release our attachment to outcomes and to trust in the natural unfolding of life. When we do so, we are no longer driven by the fear of loss or the anxiety of future uncertainties, but are instead able to live with a sense of spaciousness and freedom. In this state, the mind becomes a fertile ground for compassion, wisdom, and genuine joy. The journey to this kind of inner liberation is not marked by grand gestures or dramatic transformations, but by a series of small, everyday choices that lead us away from the trap of perpetual dissatisfaction. Each time we choose mindfulness over mindlessness, each time we let go of a fleeting desire, we reinforce the truth that our happiness is not dependent on the ever-shifting sands of external circumstances. Rather, it is a light that burns steadily within us, resilient and unwavering, even in the face of life's inevitable changes. In reflecting on these insights, it becomes clear that the path to lasting happiness is a journey of inner discovery, one that invites us to peel away the layers of illusion and to uncover the true nature of our being. It is a journey that requires both courage and humility, as we confront the reality of our own impermanence and the ways in which our attachments have shaped our experiences. Yet, it is also a journey filled with hope and possibility, for in the very act of letting go, we make space for a more profound and enduring joy to take root. This is the wisdom of the Buddha, offered to each of us as a guide in our search for true happiness, a happiness that is not contingent on the external world, but arises from the quiet depths of our own hearts. As we embrace this teaching, we begin to see that every moment, with all its challenges and opportunities, is a precious gift, a chance to awaken to the beauty of existence and to live a life that is rich with meaning and connection. In this way, the quest for happiness transforms from a frantic race after fleeting pleasures into a gentle unfolding of awareness, where each breath and every heartbeat is a reminder of the preciousness of life. With each passing day, we have the opportunity to choose a different path, a path of mindfulness, of acceptance, and of deep, abiding joy that comes not from what we possess but from who we truly are. In the end, the teachings of the Buddha invite us to look beyond the superficial promises of material pleasure and to discover a happiness that is timeless, resilient, and profoundly liberating. As we continue to walk this path, we gradually free ourselves from the cycle of craving and disappointment and begin to experience a deep-seated peace that radiates from within, reminding us that true fulfillment is not measured by what we own, but by the quality of our inner life.